Deadpool Wolverine, good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's difficult to say if it's better than the second movie. Now, I do have unpopular opinions about these movies, so I actually think that the first Deadpool movie is not as good as the second Deadpool movie, and the third one, I would argue, is better than the second one. I think the third one's story is a bit more meaningful, in large part because it, I think, propels more character development in the character of Deadpool, and like moving the story along as far as who Deadpool is as a person. The first movie didn't do that. It was literally just a revenge film. The second movie kind of did that because they had to learn how to work with the team and stuff, and not be like 100% selfish. Deadpool Wolverine kind of has a lot of those themes, but all of those themes are like dialed up to 11, which I think helped make it a more enjoyable and comfortable experience, especially for people who might take umbrage with some of the crude nature of the character. The character, while he might be, crude and rude, he's not the same super selfish person that you saw in the first film. Not that he was like completely selfish, because he was in love with like Vanessa and all that stuff, but I think they really show the contrast of what it means to be a hero and who Deadpool typically is, and it kind of shows how the two can potentially be reconciled. So it's a very fantastic film on the story front. A lot of people said, "Oh, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's like a plotless film." They just don't understand the movie. It has a plot. I think the amount of sense it's allowed to make is a little bit limited because it's trying to incorporate themes from a universe whose timeline itself doesn't really make sense in like the X-Men stuff, because it's like, oh, stuff, all this stuff happened and everything is retconned, but then we've got sequel to the old movie. It's like there's a whole bunch of stuff in the X-Men universe already that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so this movie is in a way trying to reconcile all of that together, and kind of find a way to bring everything into the MCU as logically as possible. I know it's kind of a silly movie. And for the Christians in my audience, I know I have some Christians in my audience. For a lot of you, this is not going to be a movie that you will enjoy. Thankfully, there's no nudity in this movie, which is very nice. But there are a lot of very crude jokes in the film, double entendres. So if those types of things sort of make you squeamish or queasy, I would say just stick to the Blu-ray of Once Upon a Deadpool that you have at home, and that'll give you almost as many laughs as you would get if you saw Deadpool Wolverine. No harm in that, no shame in that at all. Not all movies are for everyone. So I thought the movie was great. When it comes to humor, it's kind of interesting. I think the humor that's used in this film, it's hard for me to say it's not as funny, because the jokes that are in this film are pretty funny. However, they don't make as many jokes in this film as they have in the previous installments. It's a lot more serious. So if you saw like the third trailer, which I call the Disney trailer of Deadpool Wolverine on YouTube, a lot of the film is kind of more in line with that than what you saw in the first two films. Don't get me wrong, it is very silly. It is very fun. It's very funny. But the overall tone of the film is not just wanton goofiness. It's not that. It's like, this guy using humor to cope with dark situations is sort of more of the vibe of the film. At least as I understood it and as I watched it and as I interpreted it. But that's sort of like my review. It's a great film. I think it's in contention for the best entry in the trilogy. I think it's just a little too early to say it's better than Deadpool 2. But I'd say it's definitely better than Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1 is such a static story. Nothing happens. Barely anything happens in that movie. It's just main character finds a cancer cure and then goes to kill the person who kidnapped his girlfriend. Like, that's literally it. That's literally it. There's not much more nuance than that. So Deadpool Wolverine is great. Maybe it would have solidified its spot as the best film in the trilogy if it had TJ Miller in it. But other than that, there's not really much more that you could have asked for out of that film. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's going to be a blast. I mean, I'm sure most of you guys have already seen this movie anyways, but if you haven't, go check it out, especially if you care about the MCU, the X-Men films, or the Deadpool films. They're great. They're great. Also, I guess I should add at the end that they did not ruin the ending of Logan like some people thought that it might, which I thought was very classy, and I appreciated it. So you got two thumbs up for me, Chief. This film was good. I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of you guys will probably enjoy it too.